Hey, what's up guys? So today we're going to be going over the best and the rarest items for Barbarian. Now keep in mind this is as of right now, which is Season 19, and of course things are subject to change. There's going to be buffs and nerfs here, so things can change as time progresses. And if you are new here and you do want to be up to date on the latest Diablo stuff for the best builds, make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel if you are not already. But that said, let's go ahead and hop right into the best and the rarest items for Barbarian. So what it really comes down to is everything about Whirlwind. Even though we're not actually going to be getting a bunch of our damage from Whirlwind, most of our damage is actually going to be coming from Rend. That's what's going to apply a bunch of damage. This is actually a huge change that Barbarian has actually finally gotten for the Whirlwind Rend build. What it really comes down to is being able to get a bonus damage with the 6-piece bonus of the Wrath of the Waste set, and that's why it's basically considered the best. But I also wanted to serve a purpose to also show off some of the items that are harder and more difficult to get on Barbarian, as well as kind of going over the best items on Barbarian. So that said, let's go ahead and hop right into it. Now I do want to go ahead and stress real quick that this video is not a build guide that is going to explain how the heck to actually play. In fact, the gameplay that you guys are seeing is the Speed Whirlwind build, which I actually made a video on. If you guys do want more in-depth guide for understanding how the Whirlwind build works, I'm going to go ahead and link a video down below. But this video is just going to go ahead and go over the rarest items as well as the best items. So anyways, let's go ahead and start off with the bottom here. So first off, as far as the boots category goes, there is not a rarest pair of boots in the game for Barbarian, but there is definitely a best in slot, which is going to go ahead and be the Sabaton of the Waste, which actually is part of the Whirlwind Rend set. But nonetheless, I do want to go ahead and mention first off that there really isn't anything that is going to be more rare in most of the armor categories. It really comes down to basically a top 4 rarest items for Barbarian, not counting multiple items in the same class. So we wouldn't be counting multiple of the same like rings in that category for like the rarest. Otherwise the list would literally just come down to a bunch of amulets. Anyways, nonetheless, the boots, there isn't, again, going to be a rarest one, but the best are going to be the Sabaton of the Waste because it's part of this set. Now, as far as the bracers go, here's where we get to something a little bit interesting because these items were actually modified. So, as far as the rarest goes, there is not a rarest pair of bracers in the game. However, the best bracers definitely do exist, and those are the Mortix brace. So no rarest, but there is a best in slot, which is Mortix brace. Mortix brace gives the secondary legendary ability for Wrath of the Berserker to gain the effect of Ever Rune. Now this item was actually changed. This item used to be called Slave Bonds, which no one really actually ran, but it was changed to Mortix Brace, which definitely is going to be the best in slot. Not only does it offer a bunch of extra damage reduction, but also offers a lot of bonus damage with the Wrath of Berserker being up, and pretty much you're going to keep it up the entire time that you're war winning, so this is going to be the best in slot. Next up, as far as the chest goes, there's nothing too special to mention here as far as the rarest goes, but there definitely is the best, which is the Chaos of the Waste chest piece. Now, one thing to go ahead and mention that is kind of important here is that the Rend damage is something that can roll on the chest piece as well as your shoulder piece. So you want to go ahead and make sure you go ahead and roll those Rend bonus damages. This is explained in my build video guide, and again, that will be pinned down below, but it's just something to go ahead and mention that is important because you don't actually want to roll Whirlwind damage on your gear because all of your damage actually comes from Rend. As far as the gloves go, there is something a little bit interesting. For most of the classes in Diablo 3, Tasker and Theo actually has a lower drop chance. Now there are stone gauntlets which can only roll on, I believe as of right now, it just rolls on Barb, but other classes can make great use of it, but we'll get into that in a second because that's actually one of the best items that you will be putting inside of the cube. But as far as the rarest pair of gloves in the game, it's going to be Tasker and Theo for Barbarian. But the best is once again going to be the Gauntlet of the Waste because we need that 6-piece bonus over here. And again, I want to mention real quick that what we're considering the best is able to push for the highest Greater Rift. Even though, again, the gameplay is the speed build with Bolcathos, I just find it to be much more entertaining for the video here. But as far as the pants go, there is not a rarest pair of pants in the game. However, Tacit of the Waste is going to be your best in slot, which really just comes down to part of the Wrath of the Waste set. So nothing too important to mention there. With the shoulders, once again, nothing going to be the rarest, but Pauldron of the Waste Waste is definitely going to be one of the best over here. You also see some people maybe on the leaderboards running the Mantle of Channeling, so it could be considered also one of the better ones. But for the most part, if we're really looking to min-max and pushing for those GR 150s, which you can definitely do now with, of course, this new Season 19 seasonal buff, the Mantle of Channeling, it just gets simply outclassed, but it still is a very good pair of shoulders. Next up, as far as the helm goes, once again, do not try to roll Whirlwind damage on your helm, because I see some people try to do that. But as far as the best helm goes, Helm of the Waste and the rarest, well, there is simply just not one there. So pretty much as far as all of those items goes, there's not really one that's more rare than the other. It's so small that I just don't really want to consider it here on the list. But there is definitely like a top 4 list. And at number 4, we're going to go ahead and actually go over the rarest one, which is the Pride of Cassius, which with its secondary legendary ability is able to increase the duration of Ignore Pain by 4 to 6 seconds, which actually is really good. It's technically something people also use for like a ZDPS as well, but the best in slot is going to be Lamentation. Now this has actually been changed actually several different times. Again, because things get buffed and nerfed, I'm just going to say you got to be up to date with the latest patch notes. Sometimes to go over these videos, sometimes you check them out a month later and things are completely different. But there are sometimes what's considered a legacy item, which means it rolls with its previous stats. So anyways, Lamentation is now going to be one of the best belts for Barbarian. It is definitely the best in slot for most people, and that's going to make it so Ren can stack up to 2 times on an enemy, and the damage of Ren is increased by 150%. Now, this was actually changed. Originally, it rolled up to 200% bonus damage, then it was nerfed to 100, and then it was rebuffed up to 150. They found a middle ground, because people were actually complaining a lot about that change with Barbarian. So that is going to be one of the 4th rarest items for Barbarian. And next up, actually is going to be a weapon. This is going to be the 3rd rarest item to get on Barbarian, and there's actually 2 different pairs of blades here, and they actually have the same drop chance as one another, but these are actually almost double the chance, I should say half the chance to drop, so it's basically twice as rare as pretty much most of the different weapons in the game for Barbarian. And that's going to be Little Rogue and the Slanderer with the bonus 2-piece. You're going to be able to have it so every time you spend a primary resource, you gain 6% increased attack speed, damage, and armor for 5 seconds, and it stacks up to 5 times. And because you are spending a resource constantly, because you're going to be whirlwinding, you're going to be able to upkeep that bonus attack speed, damage, and armor pretty much the entire duration. These are actually really great items, just not only for survivability, but in addition to that, you get attack speed and damage. It just offers so much for the Whirlwind Barbarian, but it is quite rare to go ahead and obtain both of them, and then obviously you need to get them Ancient as well. Next up over here, rings. Okay, so as far as the rarest ring in the game, for most classes, it actually comes down to Unity. But Barbarian also has Skull Grasp, which is a specific ring that increases the damage of Whirlwind here. Now, one thing to mention is that it doesn't actually really help your damage, because you're, again, not dealing damage with Whirlwind, you're dealing all of your damage with Ren. So getting that bonus damage to Whirlwind doesn't matter at all. And as far as Unity goes, that is going to give you extra damage reduction, because it's split between the wearers of the item, which most people go ahead and throw onto their follower. But for the most part, with Barbarian, most people that are interested in pushing the highest graders won't be running Unity, but it is something that I have seen some people try to go ahead and make some great use out of. Nonetheless, as far as the rings go, and the reason really comes down to Band of Might just offers more damage reduction, but the best rings for Barbarian are going to be the Band of Might, which is going to make it so after casting Furious Charge, Ground Stomp, or Leap, you take 60 to 80% reduced damage for 8 seconds. And then with Convention of Elements, which is pretty much on most builds anyways that are pushing for the highest greater rifts, it's going to give you up to 200% bonus damage. And then Obscene Ring of the Zodiac to upkeep your Wrath of the Berserker with its secondary legendary ability to reduce the remaining cooldown of one of your skills by 1 second when you hit with a resource spending attack, which is Whirlwind, and that just keeps up your Wrath of the Berserker, because that's actually very important for something that we're going to go into when we go ahead and go over the cube. But as far as the amulets go, this is on all classes. It's actually super disappointing, but this is how it works for all the classes. The rarest amulet for every single class, and that includes Barbarian obviously, is going to be the Star of Askarnath, the Zephyrian amulet, the Talisman of Aranok, and Mara's Kaleidoscope. These all have some type of thing where it reduces the amount of damage that you're going to be taking from a certain element, and in fact, it actually prevents it and heals you from the amount prevented. So you're going to be able to not take, let's say, like lightning damage, fire damage, cold damage, or poison damage. There's actually the Countess Julia's cameo, but that one actually has a very rare drop still, but it's half as these are, as in like these are twice as rare as the Countess Julia's cameo, but they're pretty much all the same anyways, and no one actually utilizes any of these. The most important one, you can see sometimes people will be running a Hellfire Amulet, but by far the best is actually going to be the Flavor of Time. It has a legendary ability where when you hit a pylon, you're going to actually have twice the duration. When you have that bonus 400 damage or that conduit lasting double the duration, there really isn't anything that is going to be competing with that, especially if you're interested in pushing the highest grade rifts, which really comes down to a little bit of RNG trying to get that specific conduit or power pylon. It really makes the biggest difference in actually the ability to even clear the rift in the first place. But we're almost done. We actually have to go over the cube here. There isn't, again, going to be a rarest for the cube item, but there is going to be just kind of the best in slot because most of the items are so close within margin of error as far as the rarity goes, which again, it's going to really come down to the Istvan's paired blades. But the Ambo's Pride is actually going to be one of the best things to cube, and that is because it actually has been changed over here. So it has a secondary legendary ability where attacking with Whirlwind also applies Rend, and the total damage of Rend is dealt over 1 second, which is basically how this entire build works because with the 6-piece bonus, you're going to get extra damage with Rend and Whirlwind, and then on top of that, you're going to be able to increase the damage per second of Rend by 500% and change its duration, but it all applies instantly, and that's how you get all of your damage. So that's why this is going to be one of the best in the cube slot. Now, as far as the next cubed item, it's going to be the Stone Gauntlets. This is why you really need to keep up your Wrath of the Berserker with that 100% uptime, and it has a secondary legendary ability where getting hit increases your armor by 50%, but reduces your movement speed by 15% and your attack speed by 20%, and the effect stacks up to 5 different times. Now, normally this would be like a bad thing, right? You do get armor, but you're going to be lowering your attack speed and movement speed, but that is completely canceled out when you activate Wrath of the Berserker because a lot of the ultimate abilities in Diablo 3 basically give you some sort of immunity to a lot of the crowd controlling effects or status elements. But as far as the last area in the rings, it's kind of up to you what you want to put in the cube. It's banned in my convention of elements or Obsidian Ring of the Zodiac. Most people will put Obsidian Ring of the Zodiac because the other ones will give you more value because eventually you'll get enough CDR. You don't really need attack speed. There are certain thresholds. I don't want to get into it in this video because it's in my other video. But the reason why is because you don't really need to attack super fast. As long as you're able to apply those double stacks of Rend, it doesn't really matter. The rest of the attack speed isn't going to be helping out because you already applied those double stacks of Rend in the first place. But anyways, guys, that's it for the video. Those are the rarest items and the best items for Barbarian. Like I said, if you guys are interested more in a build vid that explains like all of the skills and stuff, definitely check out my video pinned down below. But I wanted to make this video for every single class because I thought it was an interesting topic to not only go over the best items, but I was more curious to see what the rarest items in the game were. But again, just like in Diablo 2 and even Diablo 1, just because it's the rarest item, it doesn't mean it's the best, but I just like to go ahead and do those videos because it's kind of fun. But anyways, hopefully you guys enjoyed the video, and if you did, drop a like on it. And if you are new to the channel here and would like to see a lot more Diablo content, I plan to upload a lot more very soon. If you guys have a request on any change to this video, because this is my first installment in this series of like the best and the rarest for this class, definitely let me know, give me some feedback down below, and I'll update you guys with the next video. And in fact, if you guys want to see a certain class first, let me know. Again, I plan to do all of them, but if you guys really want to see like Demon Hunter next, I'll do Demon Hunter next. But I know Barbarian 100% is the most popular class this season because Whirlwind is one of the coolest abilities in the game, and it's finally viable and it's finally the best. But again, just want to mention just as a heads up, because there is updates, and if you are new here, make sure you're subscribed because things can be changed. Things get buffed, things get nerfed all the time. Anyways, I'll catch you guys in the next video. Have a good one, and I'm signing out. Peace.